Welcome to the Punter. It's the Premiership's return. I'm Flash Gordon Watson, and today I'm joined by Russ, Wiseman from Sporting Bet, Rory Jiwani from Stan James, and making a debut, we've got Kimberly Lloyd-Owen from GoalAdvisor.net. Welcome. Have we missed the Premier League?
We most definitely have, Flash. It's good to have it back. There's some fantastic short price favourites on the coupon. Punters will be getting stuck into this. And by the way, it's a real punters weekend as well. We've got the NFL playoffs, Aussie Open starting. If you like a bet, this is the time to start.
And Rory, what games catch your eye this weekend?
I think the pair on Sunday in the Premier League are just absolute crackers. Manchester United Liverpool is always a great game, and Arsenal Manchester City also very, very interesting. And I mean, hopefully, I'm sure we'll be taking quite a bit of money on those two games.
And Kimberly, obviously welcome to you, making your debut, as I said. This weekend, have you got your eye on a few?
Man United and Liverpool's catching the eye, and QPR Spurs, I think, for the betting in play, I'll be going on those games. OK,
well, we'll start at Queen's Park Rangers. The early kick-off at Loftus Road, it's 12:45. Harry Redknapp takes on his old side. And when we look at this, we've all got to be in agreement that it's got to be Tottenham. I mean, we look at the odds, we've got 100 to 30 Queen's Park Rangers, which is quite, that might suck a few in. 11 to 4 the draw, and 4 to 5 the away. Looks quite big, the 4 to 5.
The problem with this game, Flash, from a bookmaking point of view, is that the early kick-off, most punters will be looking to get off to a good start. This 4 to 5, that's with Rory's firm at the moment, Stan James, this will not last. It will go, because it's a momentum kind of game. People are into AVB's team at the moment. They are a side who are pushing for a top 4 place minimum. They've won 6 away from home out of 10. You know, it has all the ingredients of a match where they will pile in. As a bookmaker, you'd like to see Harry's team do something. Obviously, that factor of him playing against his old side is a big deal as well. But, you know, as a bookmaker, I'm worried about this game. I do see Spurs winning it. And if they play like they did against Villa just over the Christmas period, 3-0, 4-0, whatever it was, very comfortable win that, wasn't it? You could get quite nasty this for the Hoops.
Rory, why have we got such a tempting price on Spurs, who are probably one of the best sides in the league, playing away from home?
I guess there's the Harry factor, for one. QPR desperately need the points, so they'll definitely be going for a win. This is the sort of game they need to be winning. It's a London derby as well, let's not forget that, and they're usually very competitive. But I have to agree with both of you. I think Tottenham are the way forward. I mean, they were a bit inconsistent early in the season, but they definitely, away from home, they're a very strong proposition. And as much as we'd like to see QPR do us a favour, I can't see it.
And Kimberly, your angle on this game is?
I wouldn't be advising on the Spurs win just because of the Redknapp factor. I think I read somewhere that of the games Redknapp's gone against his previous teams, he's actually won 10 of the 16 games and lost 2. So I'm going to be backing Spurs to score over 1.5 goals in play. OK, so I mean, you're looking at that and you're thinking to yourself that Spurs, I just keep looking at the 4 to 5 about Spurs. I thought they'd be 4 to 6, just minimum. Yeah,
I think they'll go off around that price actually, Flash. I mean, it's a general industry price, in fairness. I think we're not seeing anything that's too unusual, but punters are creatures of habit in these kind of games. It's not going to take a lot for people to kind of absorb the fact that QPR will probably play against the Chelsea side, who took them very lightly in that game, didn't they, at Stamford Bridge. The general form of QPR is obviously to lose against these sides, and Spurs have been doing the business quite ruthlessly actually against some of these lower half sides. It has all the ingredients of a serious early afternoon gamble, and you know, a draw or a QPR win, great result for the bookies.
Kimberly, where do you and how do you find your angle on these type of games?
You're looking at stats, mainly Spurs' way of form. I think they've scored over 2.5 goals. There's been over 2.5 goals in all 10 away games this season, so definitely a goals game for me.
And do you look maybe to play after you've seen the lineups, or do you go in early and try and get the value?
I've got to see the lineups. You can't bet until you've seen the team lineups, just in case AVB has a. You never know what the man's going to do most of the time, do you? So.
No, but to be fair with Tottenham at the moment, they've probably got 2 good players for each position. So for me, their squad is absolutely wonderful. We're going to go and have a look at the overs and unders on the goals. And Rory, if you want to take us through this.
Well, there will be goals. I don't think there's much doubt about that. And I think out of those, you're looking 7 to 10 for over 2.5 goals is looking pretty tempting, and maybe even 19 to 10 for the over 3.5 goals is tempting. I mean, it's a hard one to get involved with, and even, you know, we talked about the in-running angle. I mean, if QPR were to score the opening goal, then suddenly you're looking at obviously a completely different game.
Well,
so
on the back of a lot of people getting burnt, thinking it was going to be over Chelsea versus Queen's Park Rangers. Queen's Park Rangers kept a clean sheet. Surely people are not going to be fooled by that performance.
I wouldn't have thought so. I mean, you look at their performance against Liverpool, wasn't it? That first 20 minutes. I mean, it was a serious horror show, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, three goals there, could have been 5, 6 goals. Really desperate stuff. I mean, the biggest problem QPR have got in this game is if they play an aggressive attacking game flash. I mean, Spurs have got the ability to carve them apart. They're actually better off playing as if they're the away side, like they did against Chelsea, inviting Spurs on. It gives them that better hope. And then maybe some of these goal quotes, they might look a little bit high, but I don't see QPR really troubling the scorer that often on this one. I don't see him scoring a goal, actually. So maybe the under 2.5 is a view, but I know I'm playing against the trend here. I think most people think there's goals in this game. Unfortunately, it's probably going in Harry's net. That's the problem.
Okay, well, we've done Queen's Park Rangers and Tottenham. That's your 12:45 kick-off. Now we're going to go to one of the biggest games of the day, and it concerns Aston Villa and Southampton. 3 o'clock kick-off at Villa Park. And this is so big for both sides, Kimberly. Do you think it'll be tight?
There's an element, yeah. They're both. Southampton's away form isn't great. I think they've won 1, drawn 2, and lost the other 6 in their away. Who would back Villa in their right mind? So I think it's got draw written all over it, to be honest with you.
And do you think it'll be a scoring draw or a low
possibly,
scoring draw?
possibly. I think Villa, their defence is open at the moment, and you always back Southampton to get a goal. I think they've scored in 16 of their 20 league games this season, so they're always good for a goal.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very tight game, and so important come the end of the year. Rory, will you run me through these prices?
Yep, I'm with Kimberly here. I think draw is the way to go because Villa, horror show midweek against Bradford. Their strikers just can't seem to fire at the moment. They missed about a hatful of chances against Bradford. Southampton away are pretty average, so draw at 12-5 looks to be the bet. And you know, you're looking at probably a low-scoring game, so maybe the 0-0 draw is one way to go on betting in this one. It's one of your angles covered. And the draw at 12-5, I think, is a good bet.
Russ, unders and overs, are you expecting goals? I mean, Southampton score every week.
Well, it's early in the show, but I'm going to go against my erstwhile colleague here because I think there'll be goals in this game, Flash. I've got to say, I think I totally respect Rory's view here, but 24 goals conceded in 9 away games here for Southampton. Villa have conceded 21 in their last 6. It's just a question of who's going to mess up first here. The one thing, just going back to the match odds very briefly, is that if you were to tell someone at the start of the season you're getting Villa at around about 6-4, 7-5, 6-4 in a game against the newly promoted side, they'd be steamrolled in. But this gives you an idea of how messy things are for Paul Lambert's men. Got to play the over 2.5 here, 4-5. That's the bet for me. I totally respect the opinion of Kimberly and Rory here that it could be a draw. But for me, the play is over 2.5. 2 average defences who frankly don't do anything.
Right, because I mean Southampton have gone and scored 3 away at Queen's Park Rangers. No great shape. Southampton went to Stoke and scored 3 goals. They just don't know any other way. Oh yes, they might let in 3 or 4. But as far as the goals go, over 2.5, I think it's a knocker because they're so poor defensively. Yeah. No Jose Fonte for Southampton neither, who's their captain. He's their main defender. So for me, I'll make you right.
We need to back the 1-1.
One thing also is that both managers are under a bit of pressure. I think they're the top 2 in the next manager to go. I think Lambert last time it was 6-4, and Adkins has been really well back this week into 4-1. So this is a really not only their positions in the league and their poor recent form, but the managers have got so much riding on this game as well.
Yeah, best defence is offence, so is what I'd say. We're going to go to Goodison Park next, and it's Everton versus Swansea. And I've got to come to you, Kimberly, because obviously from Cardiff, you see that Swansea are in the Premier League. You hope that Cardiff are obviously going to get back up, and they're going great guns at the moment. Do you find it hard to be impartial in this type of game? I do actually support Swansea.
Oh, do you? When they're in the Premier League, as long as we're not in the same division as them, I do encourage them, but I do watch them. But I think they will struggle in this game. I just think the combination of playing away at Chelsea, home to Arsenal, they got a replay obviously against Arsenal, and they've actually failed to score now against Everton in the last 3 league games.
So how did you find that you had a talent or you had a real interest and passion about, first of all, sport, and then secondly, the finding margins?
I've always liked football, but I just found when I started, I found an easy way to make money. Could make more money than anyone was going to pay someone my age in a normal job, basically. So I just got a passion for it as well. I really enjoy it. So. Okay, well, long may that continue. Rory, do you want to take us through this game? Because Everton going great guns.
They are, but it's weird. Early in the season, I was saying Liverpool are always underpriced, and now I'm starting to think Everton are quite often underpriced as well. I think they're just too short. They're a good side at home. Don't get me wrong. Swansea have just beaten, just pulled off a massive upset. Won at the Bridge. great result. They must be absolutely buzzing. In Michu, they've got a man who can score goals, which is so important at any level, but especially this level. I think Swansea could nick something from this, and I wouldn't be touching Everton at 4-7.
I think 5-1 is probably too big for Swansea, but
Yeah.
the one thing that Swansea do, they capitalise on counter-attacking football. Everton's defence and their holding midfielders, they don't go roaming, so they're always ready. They don't very often get caught, and yet saying that, I think it's 14 out of the last 15 games, Everton have not kept a clean sheet, which is so un-Everton-like.
Well, actually, I think it's a run of about 18 games now where Everton and the other team have both scored in either game. So it's an incredible run, actually. But I actually went to this fixture at Goodison last year, and Everton absolutely bullied them, manhandled Swansea, frankly, and it was the physical side of the game they just couldn't cope with. Last 3 games they played these sides since Swansea came back into the Premier League, or actually into the Premier League first time, 1-0, 2-0, 3-0. They haven't even scored a goal against Everton. So, you know, it's a fixture that I think physically, especially after Wednesday night, it might be a little bit of a step too far for Swansea. But I do take Rory's point. Everton heavily backed now every week, heavily backed every single game, fashion. Drawn a lot of games for a team who are so short. But I have a feeling, unfortunately, they might just about do the business here and probably do it quite comfortably as well, actually.
Well, so you're looking at over 2.5 goals at 13-20 and under 2.5 odds against 11-10. I thought that would be the other way around, because both sides, they can like play very, very tight. They could cancel themselves out. So, I mean, Kim, do you have a thought on this game?
We'll be back in those goal prices. If anything, I'll be back in Everton to score over 1.5 goals. But I do think Swansea will be good for a goal.
So you think over 2.5
Yeah, in the game,
in the whole
yeah.
match? Okay, and Rory, you'd go the same way?
Well, yeah, I probably wouldn't be looking at that. I mean, as Russ mentioned, he's now 18 games that Everton have played and both teams have scored. So both teams to score. We're 8-11, both teams to score, and in even money, not both teams to score. So I think 8-11, both teams to score is probably the way to go.
Okay, another tight game with both teams to score. We're off to the Cottage next. It's Fulham versus Wigan, and we have a saying on here that you don't oppose Fulham at the Cottage. I think they could be opposed this weekend. What do you think, Kimberly?
I think there's a shock coming. I think, well, Wigan, you don't know, they're a little bit like the weather. I think, you know, they're either brilliant but I think Wigan have got something in them. I think there's only Fulham 2 wins in their last 14 games. It's definitely value to be having on Wigan at that price.
And Rory, you're looking at Wigan at 3-1. Fulham 10-11, the draw 13-5.
Wigan are due. They're due, aren't they? They're due one of their wins away from home, and they're due. You know, well, they're probably due to be a big team, because this is probably that time of the season they actually start putting it together. But yeah, not a game I'd like to get involved with. Fulham on their day at home are pretty good, but that hasn't been for a little while. Wigan are so inconsistent. I just leave this one well alone, personally.
Ross?
Yeah, I tend to agree with Roy on this one. It's a hard game for a punter, isn't it? Fulham, the formula with Fulham tends to be you back them at home, you take them on when they're away, and it tends to probably pay dividends over the last half a dozen years or so, Flash. But Wigan aside, on their day you can play some really lovely football, again inconsistent, so you kind of get involved here in a game where you're not entirely sure what kind of teams are going to turn up, and I think Martinez's tactics will be all important here. I'm sure they'll play very defensive. They've lost the last 4 at the Cottage, and that's why you're seeing quotes of around about even money for Fulham. But would you really want to take evens about a team who frankly November and December have been a mess, haven't they? Martin You're under a bit of pressure as well.
They are. Fancy Wigan at 3-1 could well be the value. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, there's some more unbelievable Premiership ties. We'll see you too. Welcome back to the Punter. I'm Flash Gordon-Watson, and today I'm joined by Russ Wiseman from Sporting Bet, Rory Jiwani from Stan James, and Kimberly Lloyd-Owen from GoalAdvisor.net. Now, Kimberly, I want to come to you because obviously you gamble and you enjoy flutter on most things, Premiership football. But do you find it hard to get on when you have successes?
Oh, let's put it this way: it's getting harder and harder to get a bet down on the games, so I am struggling at the moment.
And how long does it take you in advance of maybe a games on Saturday that you start looking and preparing for the weekend?
I'm starting on a Wednesday, Thursday prepping, but I won't actually place a bet till I've seen the teams, just in case there is a change of formation.
Okay, and you're obviously on GoalAdvisor.net, and then is that basically yours on your own, or do you have a team working with you?
It's just me at the moment. I'm doing everything: Facebook, Twitter. I run it all.
Okay, well, so they certainly seem to be doing okay. And we'll kick off with you. We're going to go to Carrow Road. It's Norwich versus Newcastle, and Norwich, no wins in 4 in the Premier League.
Yep.
Newcastle, I think 2 wins in about 4 years. So, I mean, how does this game even have an angle?
I just don't think you can back Newcastle at the moment. I think they're 7 consecutive away defeats in a row, and they haven't actually won away all season in 16 games, including Europa and all the cup competitions. So it's no-go zone for me, Newcastle.
Just leave this game. And
I think or half their team are injured as well, their stars. So.
And we normally say on this show, if you can't split teams, then entertain the draw. And did you say that, Rory?
I'm all over Norwich here.
Are you?
Absolutely.
No wins in 4?
No wins in 4, but their last 2 home games in the Premier League, they lost by the odd goal to Manchester City, they lost by the odd goal to Chelsea. There's no disgrace in that. Newcastle are falling apart. Demba Ba's gone for a song. Fabrizio Colaccini's handing their transfer request. He's going in January. They're falling apart. Seriously, Norwich, I reckon, are the bet of the weekend.
OK, well, you got Norwich at tips against 11-10, the draw 5-2, and Newcastle 9-4, Russ.
No wins in 18 matches away from home, Flash. Injury trouble. Bar's gone. It doesn't really add up, doesn't it? And, you know, my redoubtable colleague here, he's suggesting that Norwich are a big bet. I mean, I'm not playing myself heavily in this game, but I can see why people would step in. Again, I'll take you back to the start of the season, though. If you were going to kind of willing these odds out to punters who've kind of got a model to work from, 9-4 Newcastle away at Norwich midway through the season, you'd probably say it's a bet, but not in the current condition they are at the moment. You can't really play Newcastle until they start some form away from home. I mean, none from 18, Fash. That's a debacle of a piece of form.
It certainly is. And I look at the overs and unders, Kimberly, and are you thinking that this could be a 0-0? This could be our first potential 0-0 of the day?
Possibly, or Norwich getting one. I'm not sure. I think Norwich strikers, I'm not sure if Grant Holt's back here. I know Morrison's definitely out. The same with Newcastle, all their strikers out. So I think actually of the 27 Newcastle goals they've scored this season, they've only got 3 available players, Newcastle. So there's not any strikers to score the goals on those pitch.
Russ, I'm looking at this and thinking again that unders should be the favourite when both sides have got no strikers.
You tend to find with these Premier League games, Flash, that 2.5 goal, which is the global market in this, is a coin flip either way, slightly favouring the overs. Of course, about 2.7 goals is the average, but I think the unders will be my call here. I think Newcastle Pardew will definitely try and keep it tight. If there is any doubt about Holt or any of those kind of plays, maybe we should be looking to play the unders. But it's probably a good trading position as well. All the bookmakers will be trading this game in play. I don't really see early goals in this one. Maybe you get to half-time 0-0, you're in a good spot to trade out of that one.
OK, well, a massive game at the Majeski sees Reading host West Brom. West Brom probably been the surprise package of the Premiership so far. And Kimberly, I look at this and think Reading might be a decent price at home.
Yeah, they might actually, but I've actually been turned off Reading. I was at the beginning of the season all over the over 2.5 goals when they were playing this open, expansive 4-4-2 system. But now since in their last few games they've gone to the 4-5-1, just not for me. But they are picking up points, so I think they've taken 4 points in their last 9 games, so possibly they are one to back on this game.
And it is very much self-preservation because obviously they were shipping goals, they were scoring 3s and 4s, and we look, and Reading at 15-8 at home, 12-5 the draw, and West Bromwich Albion 7-5. Rory, a lot of people are going to be very, very interested in Reading at 15-8 because they do score.
They do, but yeah, as you say, they've definitely reined in the sort of attacking, you know, method in their game. They're a lot more pragmatic than they used to be, and I don't think there are going to be many goals in this personally. I think this is one to play the unders goals, and we'll have a look at them. But West Brom, they're not as bad away from home as people like to think. Everyone used to say, oh, they're great at home, they're rubbish away. Well, not quite that black and white. I think I'm not going to touch this in the match odds because I think it could be a 0-0, 1-0 either side. Under goals is the way to go, I think. Russ,
have a look at these under goals. You've got over 2.5 at 4-5, under 2.5 at 10-11. The coin toss again.
Yeah, I'm under. Flash, under here, 10-11. And the reason is that, again, Reading have shored things up. McDermott is now playing a far more cagey game. They just can't play this expansive game. Kimberly, absolutely spot on there. When they were doing that, it was a free-for-all, wasn't it? Tennis scores every other game. Exactly. It can't happen anymore. They're actually not that bad at home, though. People forget that. They've only lost 2 of the last 8. That was United and Arsenal. It's not a bad little piece of away form. A few stalemates in there as well. But they're starting to look as though they're a side who are doing quite well. But 2 months ago, you'd have been piling into West Brom here around about 6-4.
Okay,
but not now.
I'll just give you a little insight here. The West Bromwich Albion's weaknesses comes from their fullbacks, and Reading's strengths come from their wingers. They both have blistering pace, and if you suck them in and hit them on the break, they can always play like the away side at home, and I fancy Reading at 15-8.
Between you and Kimberly with these tactics here, 4-5-1 and the full-backs, it's a tactician's workshop, it's brilliant.
Absolutely bang on. Now, if you're a Chelsea fan, the one thing you don't want is your next Premier League game is to go away at Stoke. That's exactly where they're going. It's Stoke versus Chelsea. And Kimberly, are you a Chelsea fan or
no.
do you like Stoke?
I like Stoke, I've got to say. Pulis, he's from Wales. He's got a bit of Cardiff in him. I do like Pulis, but it's a tough game. But they are unbeaten, Stoke, in their last 18 home games. And you don't know what Benitez is going to do next. But the key is whether he starts Barr up front for me. If Torres starts, Stoke all day long. But if Barr starts...
And also we have followed the team shape of Chelsea this year, and whenever Mata doesn't play, you lay Chelsea. Yeah. You get on the opposition. So again, it is waiting for the lineups. But I look and think Stoke unbeaten, 100-30, Rory. Yeah,
I think it's big. I think it's big.
Massive.
I think it is big. I think Chelsea are too short. I think the draw could be a way to go. I think this could be a 0-0 draw quite easily. You are looking at, I think it's 2 of the 3 stingiest defences in the Premier League. I don't think there's going to be much in this. It's going to be tight. Demba Ba has to start. He has to start after Torres in midweek.
I'd like to see him playing both. Bar and Torres, and go 4-4-2.
Where do you fit in Mata, Hazard or
Mata on the left, Hazard on the right. Go Lampard and Luis.
Yeah, I think first goal scorer, it's got to be Demba Ba if you're looking at a Chelsea point of view. I hope Kenwyne Jones is fit. But he's been playing very well recently.
Yeah, very much so. He's rotated Crouch, Jones, Cameron Jerome. He's done really well with them 3 boys. I expect Crouch to probably come in. And I disagree. I think Chelsea's defence, they're always going to ship a goal. The keeper's still out. They say John Terry may be back, but he's not going to be sharp enough. So for me, Crouch at 9-1. That's a real good value.
Listen, I can play on this game because this is a bookmaker's game. Chelsea won't win this. This odds on for Chelsea. It's one of those games. Stoke are unbeaten at home. 5 wins, 5 draws. Yep. They've had 1 bad performance at home this year. That was against Southampton. They still managed to get away with it.
And they should have won 6 or 7.
I mean, they're a team that at that place very intimidating. If you watch their performance against Liverpool on Boxing Day, I think it was, wasn't it? Boxing Day night. Very one-sided game of football. They're incredibly difficult to beat there. You're asking people to punt a team here who've been beaten 2-0 at home. The manager, everyone's dead against him. They've got problems up front. They've got a brand new striker. Can you really take odds on? It's a bookmaker's game, Flash. We're not going to be paying the money out here. People, again, will pile into Chelsea. And I think you're right. The likes of Crouch, from a set play, I can see worse 9-1 shots than that.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. OK, we're going to go up north now and north east, and it's Sunderland versus West Ham. And I think, again, I might buck the trend, but Sunderland would probably look value, Kim.
Yeah, I'm all over Sunderland home win. Just Martin O'Neill, I think he'll pull the rabbits out of the hat, so to speak, for this one. I'd never fancy West Ham away, to be honest with you. So Sunderland all day for me. And
Sunderland are one of them sides that if they do get on a roll, they could well be a team to follow.
Yeah, but the only thing I'm drawn back against, there's not many goals in the team. There's still, they never score over 2. I think they've done it twice, 3 times at home this season. So it's got unders. It's an unders game for me as well. And I think Sunderland going to nick it.
Okay, Rory, we've got Sunderland 5-4, West Ham 23-10, and the draw at 23-10.
I think Sunderland at home. I completely agree. I wouldn't say, I'd like them for the home win. You'd take the 5-4. I'd also be on Stephen Fletcher to score the opening goal because, they don't score many goals, but the ones they do, he usually gets them. So I think Stephen Fletcher, first goal scorer. West Ham away from home are pretty poor. So yeah, you'd be looking at a home win here.
Russ?
I take the balance of both Kimberly's and Rory's views here. Fletcher's the guy who will score. I mean, he's a player I knew very well at Wolves last year. He is a lively player, but the problem is you're being asked to take 5-4 about a team who don't score many goals at all. West Ham are very difficult to break down as well. They've already won at St James's Park this year, haven't they, as well? So they know how to do the business up there. The bet here for me, Flash, and it's a proper bet as well, you back the no goal scorer. It will definitely trade short. I can't see there being early goals in this game. Fair enough if somebody scores from a set play or a deflection, but I think both sides would be happy to get to half an hour 0-0. There won't be a lot of chances in this game. Both sides difficult to break down. That is the play here, and it will trade short. So you'll be able to lay that back, and no problem at all in play. I think that's the way to look at this one. I'm not sure I can steamroll into Sunderland at 5-4 just because of the lack of goals.
So are we expecting and under 2.5 goals to be heavily odds on?
Well, it is odds on, as you can see, and it's the right call. But I think the better value, like I say, is around about 9 to 1. This no goal scorer bet. But I do think if you were to put a gun to my head, it would definitely be unders here. Even under 1.5 is a play, just because the nature of the way these two teams will set up. I think the way they match up as well, very, very similar in the way the shape of the game will be. Not a lot of flair players out there, and when you've been asked, like Fletch will be asked to do a lot of donkey work in that game. I think it's a match where you want to be playing the unders generally. It might be the odd goal in the game, but I think you play the under 2.5 and no goal scorer, you'll definitely be able to trade out of those.
Okay, well, when we come, we're going to have a short break now, but when we get back, a Super Sunday is an understatement. Manchester United, Liverpool kick us off. We'll see you in 2. I was desperately wanting to say that fancy Sunday. Welcome back to the Punter. Well, it's Super Sunday. It's Manchester United versus Liverpool at Old Trafford. I'm joined by Russ Wiseman from Sporting Bet, Rory Jiwani from Stan James, and Kimberly from GoalAdvisor.net. Now, Kimberly, when you look at this game and we've got Manchester United and Liverpool, is it easy to have like a firm a sort of view, or is it one of them games that could go either way?
Completely, form goes completely out of the window. Whatever they've done before goes out the window. It's one of those games, rivalry, everything, but I just can't see past the Man United win, a comfortable 3-1, 2-1 United win.
So already we're looking at, we'll have a look at the overs and unders, but I mean, Manchester United 8 to 11, Liverpool away at 7 to 2, draw to 14 to 5, and I've got to agree with Kimberly, I can't see, first of all, Man United getting beat, and secondly, Liverpool putting up much of a fight because the defence is so flaky.
Well, for this game, we're 7 to 2 at the moment. From Saturday morning onwards until kick-off, we're going top price Liverpool. We think United are going to win this and win it pretty comfortably. So we're top price Liverpool. I think 7 to 2 is actually the biggest out there at the moment anyway. But we're happy to lay Liverpool all day. I know what Kimberly says about the rivalry and everything like this, but on all known form this season, Liverpool are a side who are struggling. United are a side who are going to win the title. So United at Old Trafford, it's got to be United, and we'll be top price on Liverpool. We'll be top price all first and last goal scorers and the double results and the under and over 2.5 goals. But it's a big game for us. But we think United are cast iron certainties.
And Russ, when I look at this, I'm thinking 7 to 2, Liverpool will still have their supporters.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I quite admire Rory's firm's stance on this, because it is a game. It is the biggest game in the Premier League. I know you may argue Arsenal, Chelsea, or Arsenal, but this is the biggest game in the Barclays Premier League without question. And you do throw form out the window, as Kimberly's quite rightly saying. Liverpool always turn up for these games. Unfortunately, when you look at the stats a little bit more carefully, Liverpool haven't been turning up for this game recently. 7 of the last 8 they've lost at Old Trafford. I mean, they've lost last 3 as well. It's not been a fixture they've done particularly well in. They've been a little bit unlucky, but they tend to be very close, tight games. There's not a lot between these teams, and Liverpool do raise their performance massively. But you are getting around about, well, just short of even money, about a team who are 21 points ahead of the other after 21 games. There's a big gulf between these sides this year, but with the likes of Suarez on the field and clearly a rabid crowd that Liverpool will bring to the game, I think it's still a hard one to call. And having been to this fixture many times, Flash, and I've done my money in many times for this game, the obvious sometimes doesn't happen. And although I think United will probably win, around about 8 to 11, you'd be happy to take them on, just considering the history between the two clubs.
Okay, when we look at unders and overs, Kimberly, we look at these, and Man United can't keep a clean sheet. And also, Man United have gone behind in something like 15 or 16 games this year. So, I mean, there might be an in-play there, whereas you might lay the 8 to 11, expect them to go 1-0 behind, and then come back and obviously win 3-1. But over 2.5 is nearly 1 to 2. It's 11 to 20, and under 2.5 at 30 to 10. I mean, would you make a case for going over 3.5 at 6 to 4?
Possibly. I think the over 2.5 personally is a bit short for me, but I can't see anything but goals. I think United's 10 games at Old Trafford, 9 of the 10 games they've scored over 1.5 goals, and Liverpool scored in 80% of their away games, so it's a goal game for me.
Okay, Russ, with you.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with that, because as a bookmaker, you always want to see the unders, because that's the way that punters go, but it never happens with United. You think you're going to get away with it, Flash. Never actually happens. Old Trafford, 10 games there this season. I think they've won 9, lost the 1. Most of the games are over, as we mentioned there. But again, you know, I look at these games, and RVP is the key candidate. He's got a fantastic record as well against Liverpool. Scored 5 out of the last 6.
Very, very doubtful.
And I don't think it'll bother United or Liverpool at the moment. I mean, Liverpool probably would want Rooney to play the way the current form is, but you know, Robin van Persie scored the winner in the last 2 games against Liverpool. He likes playing against his team. He scored 5 in the last 6 games. He will be the key player for United. But if it wasn't for the history, we'd probably steamroller into United here. You won't get that kind of price, that shorter price, a gooder price, I should say, against any other sides. But it's just that history between these 2 clubs that goes back so many years, almost venomous, isn't it, really, between the 2 sets of fans at the moment. That's why we're getting some value on United here. If you can put that to one side, they're probably a bet in this game.
OK, well, we don't expect Man United to slip up, but if they do, 4 o'clock kickoff at the Emirates, Arsenal versus Man City. Both sides will be looking to just make up a little bit of ground. And how do you look at this game, Kimberly?
It's hard. Personally, I won't bet on this game. I know it's a live TV game and it's a big game, but it's not a game personally I'll be backing. I think Man City are without Aguero, Yaya Toure and Nasri, who's still suspended. And I haven't been convinced by them away this season at all. And Arsenal, you never know which team are going to turn up, do you? So I think it's going to be draw, possibly 0-0, 1-1 for me. So
yeah, I mean, basically all 3 results are possible. And is that reflected in the odds, Rory?
It is, absolutely. We can barely split them. There's very little between them. Arsenal just favourites, but only just. We're actually going similarly in the previous game. We were going top price Liverpool. We're going top price Arsenal here, and not because I don't think it's because we're massively convinced by Manchester City. We're just even less convinced by Arsenal recently. I think the draw is the bet here, but you know, we'll be top price Arsenal from Saturday morning. We'll also be we'll top price all the goal scorers, correct scores, and double results. But you know, I think it's a really hard game to be really strong either way about. And
well, then that makes 5-2. That makes 5-2 a really big price.
Absolutely.
Because if it is going to be tight, 5-2. Yeah, 5-2 is never going to get any bigger unless obviously someone scores. And we look at the unders and overs, Russ, and we start thinking to ourselves, is this going to be a tight game, or do you think that they'd be like a basketball match? I
think it will be tight, but I'm going to go against my colleagues on this one. I think that there's a bet to be had at City. I think this, just to go back at history, last year this was a game where prices were very similar before kick-off. A huge gamble on Arsenal. This is when City were battling to stay in the title race. They actually lost the game, didn't they, late on? It looked as though their title chase was completely over. And they were very poor that day. It looked as though Balotelli was particularly poor as well, wasn't he? But now I think they're a team who need to get back on the train here. They need to start winning games. They can still hold into a title chase if they can do well in this game. I think they'll win the game as well. I think the overs is the play here. I think there will be goals. They've found a scoring touch now. I take Kimberly's point about the team news, but the squad is deep and they are starting to fire now. They've got no Europa League to worry about, no Champions League. This is it for City. They've got to do something, and I think they'll get their title challenge really underway here with a good win against Arsenal. 2-1 or 3-1 for me.
Okay, and if we looked at first goal scorer, I mean, obviously it's a fun market. Who would you be looking at here?
Well, Tevez for me, the position he's playing so far back. I don't like Tevez in the game. Zacco, I never back him. I think he's too immobile. Walcott, if he plays through the middle, you've got to fancy him with his pace. But I think it's going to come from a set piece from us. I actually think it's going to be one of their centre halves that breaks the deadlock.
Koscielny,
Marlon possibly due a goal.
Yeah, it's funny that because we've been tipping him on here all season, and even when he doesn't play, my colleague, the bet butler's always saying Flash will have Vermaelen, even though he's injured or anything. He's due. He's definitely due.
He is, isn't he?
We have him every single week. Rory, do you have a thought on this?
I think if you want to get involved in this market, Walcott's the way to go because he is the man in form. You know, Arsenal have been playing him centrally, and 13-2 is a fair price about him. I think there could be goals in this without a doubt, but I think you know, as I said, we'll be top price all goal scorers. So Walcott could be as big as 15-2, 8-1 come kick-off.
Okay, what about these Stan James specials that you was going to throw at me?
Top industry doubles, and again, these could get bigger because obviously we'll be going top price about Liverpool and Arsenal, so I'm sure that 11-1 will be a bit bigger. But 9-2 for United and Arsenal to win, which I think is pretty good value. United and City 9-2. I think United and City, if you're going to back any of these, I think that's the way to go. But I think there will be a draw at the end.
Well, that's what I was going to say to you. I said you've left out the winning bet.
Well, yeah, exactly.
You've only offered people the losers because I mean, Man United and Arsenal to draw would probably be the way to go.
Yes, absolutely.
Russ,
we're not a charity.
No, you're not. No. Russ,
yeah, I mean, Good on Stan James for enhancing these. I mean, I've got to go United and City, haven't I? That's the way I think it's the safest play. It's the obvious play. But these are two teams who separated themselves at the top now. Flash. And there's big pressure on City. If United have done the business, they've got to win that game, haven't they? They can't afford the gap to get any bigger. So I've kind of talked my book already in this one. United and City for me.
Okay, we're going to have a look at the Premier League relegation now, and I think you're going to expect, obviously, Southampton, Reading. Here we go. Reading 1-6, Queens Rangers 1-2, Southampton 5-4. But you go outside that, I think there's probably a little bit of value to be had. I mean, Newcastle, we tipped them up. I think they were like 25-1, as were Norwich, and they're starting to come down now all the time. Norwich not 1-4, but they're playing each other. What do you see there, Kimberly?
Can't see anything beyond Reading and QPR, to be honest with you. I think I worked out the other day that QPR actually need 23 points. I worked out to stay up. So you just can't see where they're going to get them from in their remaining games. Wigan, they seem to pull off they seem to do it every season, don't they? But Villa, I just don't know.
Yeah, and arguably, Wigan are probably better than they were last year. Yeah. I mean, they seem to have a lot more power.
Terrific at the end of the season, though, Wigan. And they were superb at the end of the season. And actually, this manager, Martinez, is definitely going places.
He seems to stay calm.
Very relaxed.
He won't whip his horse mid-race, knowing that his horse stays.
If you remember the performance they put on at the Emirates under pressure last year, superb. So I think they're the kind of white elephant there. I don't think they'll be going down, but the team to be back in here still at this point, just because they're in disarray, it has to be Villa. Until you see signs of a team coming back and showing any kind of form. I mean, this is an opportunity for them this weekend to do something, but they really are struggling, aren't they? And the only shock for me is they didn't get beaten at the Liberty when there was a huge gamble on Swansea. But at the moment, the trend is they're losing all their games.
And you can't be mugged into thinking that 2-2 was a good performance, because Swansea should have been 4 up inside the first 18 minutes. So Rory, just you with Villa as well to go?
Newcastle.
You like Newcastle at sevens?
I think that you'll get a run for your money at the moment at 7-1.
So is that QPR Reading getting out of it?
QPR Reading gone.
Right,
I think they're gone, and it's anyone from 3 or 4 there. I think Southampton might get their way out of it.
Oh no, dangerous! They score, don't they?
Yeah.
Obviously, they've got something on there, as everyone knows.
You got the tie. I think Newcastle will give you a run for your money. We're short about Villa because we took a lot of bets on Villa to go down at the start of the season. We don't want Villa to go down. I think they'll get their way out of it. I think Newcastle will give you a good run for your money.
Okay, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, it's NFL weekend. It's the Australian Open. We'll see you in 2. Welcome back to the Punter. I'm Flash Gordon Watson, and Kimberly from goaladvisor.net has now left us. We're looking at Russ and Rory, and we're going to go to Australia. Monday is the start of the first tennis major, the Australian Open, gentlemen, and this is where the ball starts rolling.
Definitely, Flash, and even though we've taken the tone down a little bit with the departure of Kimberly, we've still got some good sports to look forward to, haven't we here? Djokovic, so popular these days now, Flash. Gone for 3 in a row in Melbourne. No one will ever forget that victory last year when he came back from the jaws of defeat probably about 5 times against Nadal, who won't be there this time. So he's clearly the play. We're a big price as well on this, same as Stan James Sporting, but we've still got a big price. Djokovic slightly odds against, but you have to believe it's a 3-runner race, doesn't it? Although this is the one major where you do get some quite unusual players turn up.
Federer in the same half
That's right as well. So you can get the likes of a Del Potro or Tsonga or a Burdick, that kind of player, a power fit player who can make the final. And Tsonga's done that before as well. But as regards winning it, you're being speculative to say the least if you think one of those 3 isn't going to cop.
And what one would you go for? It's
got to be Djokovic for me, and mainly because you say about the draw element to this, Flash. He tends to be very, very ruthless, doesn't he, early on in these games, and he's the one player out of all of these that even when he's on the brink of defeat, he just seems to find a way, doesn't he? An incredible will to win spirit. Murray now has become a real lively player this now. He's the latest Grand Slam winner as well, so he naturally is a chance, but it's a perilous way to the final this time for Murray. If you look at the draw, some very, very useful plays in there, and the likes of Tomic, who's obviously beaten Djokovic recently, he's lurking around as well. So, but for me, Djokovic is a safe, evenly shot. No certainty in this kind of event where the attrition, the sheer physical element of this is so difficult. But an outsider, potentially Tsonga. We've gone biggest price, Del Potro, I think we're 20-1. We don't see him making it.
Rory, Djokovic for you?
He's in good form. And I think as well, when Murray won his major, Djokovic was sort of looking a tired player. The season was having its effect on him, and Murray looked a much fresher specimen. And I think Djokovic at even money is the way to go. Murray at 9-4, I wouldn't put anyone off that. He's in good form. But, you know, we've taken money for Djokovic during the week. He was 6-5 early. He's now even money. Murray's actually been eased slightly. We want to see a bit more money for him. Murray-Federer in the semi-final could be really interesting because it could be a really gruelling one, and Djokovic could be really fresh to play the winner. We're also giving money back if Federer wins. Federer 5-1, which, you know, looks a big price in what looks like a 3-horse race.
So if I said to you that it was Djokovic versus Murray in the final, then you'd be looking at like 4-9 and 11-4. Would that be fair? About that.
Probably.
So if you think Djokovic is going to win, I think you get to the final, you back him now. If you think that Murray or Federer are going to get there, then you've got to wait surely until they get through that semi-final.
Very tricky. I mean, it's very dangerous in a betting game to just assume that people are just going to cruise through a Grand Slam.
You can do that with Djokovic.
Well, funny enough,
and we did it with Federer at the US Open.
It's always dangerous.
Verdict,
that's right.
So,
it can happen. So,
happen.
I mean, it's an interesting triangle, those three guys, because there's a little formula that works quite well, doesn't it? But Murray does very, very well against Federer, doesn't he? Generally,
yeah, he does.
Federer on his day can cause Djokovic an enormous amount of trouble, and Djokovic tends to beat Murray. So that has been the way. Has broken up slightly that in the last Grand Slam, because obviously Murray's kind of got Djokovic back a little bit, but
in the heat you can't fancy Murray, surely.
It's very difficult to think, but I just feel as though when Murray plays Federer, he just does have a game plan. He really seems to get under the Swiss legend's skin. That'd be the way to go, but always dangerous to just rule out the rest of the field. But
okay.
Three-runner race, obviously. Okay,
well, next we're going to have a look at the women, and obviously this is a lot more wide open, and yet we've got a tighter favourite.
I think the way this is, and Serena's been really well backed during the week. She was odds against early in the week. She's been very well backed. And I think the thing is, if Serena doesn't win it, who does? I mean, you're looking at, you know, there are more names on that list. I mean, I can think of Petra Kvitova's not on the list there. There's at least 6-7 possible contenders. Samantha Stosur, she's a Grand Slam winner. There are a host of potential winners if Serena doesn't win it. But you need Serena to go out.
Oh, well, exactly. So isn't the bet actually Serena versus the field and take her on at 5-6?
Well, we've got a very good tennis trader, and I'm happy to say that. Although I don't like him as a bloke, but he's a very good trader indeed. No, he's a terrific guy. But no, this guy has been very aggressive with his odds for Sportingbet this time around. We've gone biggest price Serena, and we're shortest price Victoria Azarenka. Yeah. And if you look at the US Open final between Serena and Azarenka, it was right on the brink for a long, long period of that game. Very evenly matched. And you've got to believe that the one player is starting to ascend in her career, and the other is probably going the other way. One of the greatest players ever played any sport, Serena Williams. One of the biggest winners ever. When she's backs against the wall, she's so fantastic. But for me, you've got to play Azarenka here. I'll go with the form and the upcoming player. Okay, and we're going to have a look at some Andy Murray specials for obviously the patriotic players. To win no Grand Slams, 11-8.
Yeah, we're actually top price that one. He's got one.
Yes.
He really could, get on a run. And if he was to win the Australian Open, the 3 is not out of the question because he's not going to win the French. The 100-1, you could probably add another 0 onto that. He's not going to win the French.
Yeah, if he was to win, I've just got to jump in here and to say the Andy Murray specials. This is only for 2013.
This is 2013. This is not for the rest of his career. Yes, absolutely. Only for this year. If he was to win the Australian Open, you can make a case for him at Wimbledon. Obviously, you reach the final. You can definitely make a case for him at the US Open. His best Grand Slam, his best surface, loves it at Flushing Meadows. At the moment, I don't think he's going to win the Australian Open. So I think probably 2 Grand Slams at 4-1 is the way to go. 3 Grand Slams, 28-1, with top price on that as well. But I think 2 Grand Slams at 4-1 is a very fair price.
Well, the Australian Open, that starts Monday for the men and the women. But on Saturday and Sunday, it's playoff weekend. It's the divisional playoffs. And the Houston Texans, they travel to the New England Patriots, where New England Patriots have to give up 9.5 for us. Yeah, and this wouldn't have been 9.5 if you went back 2 months ago, Flash, would it? This looked like Houston would have the home field advantage. They've really let themselves go in the last few weeks. They really didn't play that well in the wildcard game either, really. So, unfortunately,
have to be with the Patriots here. Not the 9.5.
Unfortunately.
Well, I say unfortunately because they're a punters team. The line tends to be. This is a universal line, as we all know. This is a global line. There's nothing particularly sexy about these prices. This is the line you'll see everywhere. I mean, you probably, if you could find plus 10.5 with Houston, you could probably make a case for them. Touchdown and a field goal, big head start in a game like this. But going to play New England at their own place, never easy, is it? I mean, it's going to be cold. It's going to be nasty for Houston. They like the indoor conditions there over in Texas, don't they? It's going to be difficult. I don't see Houston really having enough left in the kitty, and they've lost some key defensive players. It's really going to hurt them this game. All going to be on the running back, isn't it? He's the Arian Foster is the guy here. He needs to do something for them.
And New England 3-1 to win the whole thing.
I mean, you look at the AFC at the moment. Denver and New England clearly deserve to be the favourites.
Manning and Brady.
And Manning and Brady. I mean, the two great quarterbacks of this era, aren't they, as well? But I'm sure if Channers was here now, he'd be giving us some a different play. But I do think that that New England can make it to the Super Bowl this time round. They've got a history at the moment now, falling at the final hurdle, haven't they?
Okay, well, we'll have a look at the NFC title with or the playoff match between Seattle and Atlanta. Atlanta home field advantage, but Seattle got a great defence.
And they've got a new quarterback there who's just been absolutely tearing the place up, hasn't he? Superb last week. He dominated the game, didn't he, Russell, against RG3 at Washington. He was superb. The initial line here was 3.5. A little bit of money for Seattle to start with. This is a step farther, isn't it? This is a hard game to go to. Matt Ryan and Atlanta have had home field advantage tucked up for quite a while now, Flash. It's going to take a mighty effort for Pete Carroll's Seahawks to get through this.
Remember those who don't really follow the NFL. Atlanta had a week off last week, and Seattle had a real big game in Washington.
14-0 down.
And
as
exactly.
well.
They were 14-0 down in the first quarter, came back and shut them out for the final 3 quarters. That takes a lot of bottle and a lot of steel.
Very much so.
I think Atlanta are the bet there, to be honest. I think they're going to have plenty in there. Just going back to the Patriots game, on the match betting, Patriots are 2-9, which, you know, I mean, if you like short, if you don't mind taking a short price, that looks, I cannot see them being beaten.
No, I agree with you. Bet of the weekend, please, gentlemen.
You've put me under the pressure there, Flash. What I will do is I will take City actually to beat Arsenal. I think they're going to keep the title track going. It's probably not the most sexy bet in the world, but I think City will do the business. You have to wait till Sunday afternoon though.
Okay, Rory?
Actually, in horse racing, Kempton, there's a really good punting race, the Lanzarote Hurdle, with top price every runner. Captain Sunshine, I think, has got a big run in him for Emma Lavelle. 14-1, but from tomorrow morning will be top price every runner, so that could be more like 16-18-1. Each way, Captain Sunshine in the Lanzarote.
Got a monkey each way on that, Flash, haven't we? No,
yeah.
no
Have a gorilla.
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. Cheers, Russ. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Flash. Thank
Rory, happy punting over the weekend. For me, it's Reading at 15-8. We'll see you again soon.